Sharp Game here, coming at you with another episode from TrueYourRelationships.com off of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. And I got a question from a subscriber. He wanted to know, he said, I talk about a lot of dating and meeting women and how to be a better man. So he asked me if I had to start all over today, how would I become a better man? What would I do? What are 3 to 4 steps I would take to become a much better man? And that's a good question. No one ever asked me that one. And you know, if you really look at the landscape of society today, and if you take a look at the average guy is just winging it, especially when it comes to non-white guys. They're just winging it. Most guys, you know, they don't fellowship. They really don't do anything together. I mean, if you walk up to the average guy today and say, hey, who's your best friend? They might look at you with a stare, or they might have to think about it. You know, and that type of shit didn't happen when I was growing up. And that didn't happen in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Because guys fellowship and come together and they strategize and they didn't leave things by chance. And they didn't wing it. And you didn't have to guess. And whatever you wanted, someone 9 times out of 10 knew how to get it. And they lived life by a certain code. They didn't just, they went all over the goddamn place. The average guy today is all over the goddamn place. The average guy, he thinks he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't. And why do I say that? Because I used to be that way too. I thought I knew what I was doing. I was just testing some shit out in most cases, especially when I was in my early 20s. I was just winging it. I was just doing what I saw someone else do, even though I didn't take into account that I'm not that person. And they're not me. But that's how it is. But the first thing I would do if I had to start all over today is I would ask for help. I would ask help from guys, and guys that's doing something that I would like to do, or guys that's in the position that I would like to be one day. See, the average guy got too much pride and ego, and they don't want to, they kind of feel embarrassed. You know, the average guy today feels kind of embarrassed if they have to ask advice when it comes to women. You know, I think it's an ego thing, or maybe we've been conditioned to be that way. I'm not sure, but the average guy don't ask other guys for advice. They'll ask a stranger. They'll ask somebody on the online, but they won't ask their father or their uncles. They won't, because I think a lot of people see it as kind of like an embarrassment, and then some guys might seem like they'll say, "Oh, I'm shy. Oh, I don't know what to say. They start coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas and excuses why they can't ask for help, why they can't ask for advice." So that's the first thing I'll do, is ask for advice. Then I would unify. I would, find other people that's doing things that I would want to do. Find other people that's smarter than me and hopefully I'll be able to bring something to the table. And that's very important because you can't do everything. One person just can't do everything. It's impossible. You know, they said teamwork make the dream work. And that's true. But you have to surround yourself around people that's going somewhere. Because you're only as strong as the people that you surround yourself with. And they always say you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. Or the average of the 5 people that you listen to that have the most influence on you. And, you know, you just got to do your best and try to be around and soak up some game from people that you want to be in the same position or with similar interests as much as possible, I would say. And then you got to get organized. You know, a lot of people, a lot of guys are all over the goddamn place. Like I just said earlier, they really don't know what they want. This is why a lot of guys, they always say they don't know what to say to a woman. And that's because they don't know what they want. And a lot of times they don't know who they are or who they want to be. They haven't figured that out yet. See, because if you don't know who you are or who you want to be, nothing else is really going to work. Everything you try, it's always going to be, you're always going to feel like there's something missing. There's just that one little thing, that one little X factor, that one little this, that one little that. And that's because guys haven't really figured out what they want to be. And a lot of people, a lot of guys, they don't trust themselves. So you have to trust yourself. A lot of people don't trust themselves. But they'll put trust in someone else, though. They'll put way more trust in someone else before themselves, which doesn't really make any sense if you really think about it. I mean, why wouldn't you bet on yourself? I'll bet on myself more than anybody else on this planet, because I know what I'm going to do and I know what I'm capable of, because I've proven it. But even when I didn't have the proof to show for it, I still had faith. I still had faith that regardless of what happened, everything was going to be all right. I would find a way, because I had a burning desire that, you know, regardless of what happened or what happens, even to this day, whatever I want, I'm going to go hard, all the way, all in, 10 foot tall and bulletproof, full speed ahead. You got to have that drive. You got to have that level of confidence and determination. You have to. You can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It just don't work that way. You can't say shit like this. Oh, I'll just give it a shot. That bullshit. You can't be like that. You got to be all in. This is why a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages don't last. Because a lot of people aren't really all in. They're just half-assing it. I'll give it a shot. And they got all these conditions, you know. So you got to be all in. You got to get organized. And it's the little things that make a big difference. The things that's not so obvious make the biggest difference. Not the things that you can see and not the things that you can touch so much. They say the devil's in the details, you know. That's what that really means. And then another thing, you have to be mentally tough, mentally strong. Not necessarily physically strong. You got to be mentally tough, mentally strong, because most of the in this society, for the most part, it's a mind game. It's a mind fuck out here. And if you aren't mentally strong, you can be taken advantage of it and persuaded at any given time. And you're probably going to get preyed on and played. And you're probably weak-minded anyway. You probably just don't realize it. See, because everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. See, a guy that's mentally strong will acknowledge his weaknesses, but he'll focus on his strengths. But a guy that's delusional will walk around and act like it's all good. Like, he'll act like shit don't exist. He'll walk around and disrespect himself, act like his world is totally different from the rest of his brothers and sisters and his parents. Or his world is very different from some of the events that happen across the country. He'll act like what's happened across the country in certain altercations with cops. He'll try to come up with excuses why things happened the way it did, or why he'll try to justify why cops should beat up kids and kill innocent people. See, a guy like that, he's weak-minded. He doesn't even realize it, but he's disrespecting himself. He doesn't even realize. He doesn't see it that way. He thinks that just because he has money and women and he bought a couple cars and house and he bought a lot of stuff, he thinks that somehow he's better than the rest of his family members and even his parents and even his classmates and friends. See, he's disrespecting himself. He doesn't even realize it. And he thinks, and then plus on top of that, the same guy, he thinks that women really like him. But they really don't. In most cases, what the women around him are really doing is using him. Because when women aren't stupid, women know when you make jokes or when you try to divide yourself or kind of how should I say this? You try to make it seem like when you're, for example, if you're associated with a certain group of people that's disenfranchised, that don't have privileges like another set of people in society, and if you're a part of the group of people in society that are disenfranchised and don't have the same opportunities as the other group that control all the resources, and you try to disassociate yourself from your people, from your family, and if you're around a woman, she's gonna sit back and just listen, and watch. And the average woman is not gonna, that's not gonna turn her on. She's not gonna respect you. She might not say anything about it, but in most cases, she'll ride the wheels until ride it until the wheels fall off. But she's never gonna respect you, believe it or not. But in most cases, these women, they'll use you up until the next guy comes along. Or if you get married to somebody like this, she'll get a divorce, have kids, get child support and alimony, as long as she can. And then you get it, and then afterwards, the guy usually gets a divorce, and he can't understand why he got taken advantage of. How do I avoid this situation ever again in my life, and all this crap? Because he was weak. He wasn't mentally strong. He let the chick run game on him. And you see this with a lot of these athletes and entertainers, big time. They get exploited, taken advantage of. A lot of it you don't hear about. Some of it you hear about indirectly on sites like Instagram and Facebook. But a lot of the entertainers that get exploited, you never hear about it. You won't ever hear about it online. But you gotta be tough, man. You can't let people